The coronavirus pandemic escalated into the worst crisis in aviation history. All the airports in the world saw aircrafts cramming in with nowhere to fly. Year on year, March 2020 saw a 52.9% reduction in revenue passenger kilometers. This has contributed to a $314 billion loss across the. There is no recovery playbook for this pandemic. No recipe exists which mirrors anything that has happened before. This does not resemble 9/11, SARS, MERS, or any other past black swan events. History offers little guidance as to how we might recover. U.S. air travel has dropped 95% compared to last year, and the number of flights scheduled globally is down by 63%. More than two-thirds of the world's commercial aircraft are grounded. It's somewhere between 14 and 15,000 aircraft that are parked, or almost 60% of the fleet. Never before in history have airlines had to ground so many planes so quickly. Parking hundreds of aircraft is also adding to their losses. These planes can't just sit idle. They need routine maintenance and a place to be stored. And when you suddenly have thousands of planes with nowhere to go, it becomes a logistical nightmare. Before the coronavirus hit, airplanes were where they were meant to be in the air. At certain times of the year, there could be as many as 20,000 planes in flight at the same time around the world. At the end of 2019, the global air fleet was nearly 24,000, and now more than 16,000 of those massive machines need a place to park. And that number can continue to go up as airlines cut their networks. There are about 100,000 aeroplanes which fly in the sky on an average day. But recently this number has fallen by more than half and is continuing to fall at a very high rate. These powered vehicles with huge wings that are supposed to fly in the sky are grounded. But what are the cons and consequences to this major situation that has arisen in the aircraft industry today? With flights canceled and aeroplanes grounded, the airport terminals have become empty and are losing out on revenues. Some passenger planes are being used to transport cargo and healthcare equipment. But what about the planes that are grounded? Thousands of aeroplanes which were manufactured to fly and not be stationary are grounded and have given rise to many different problems. First one being the parking of these massive vehicles. The airports are designed for keeping the planes in constant motion, hence the issue of parking so many planes at once arises. Most of the planes are currently parked in the taxiways and unused runways. Deserts are ideal for parking planes as they need an arid environment. The to-do maintenance list for grounded aeroplanes is quite long. Regular washing, rotating tires, testing parts of the wings, keeping all kinds of wildlife away from the planes, and the list goes on. In many previous cases, problems with airspeed readings have been due to insects or larvae in the aircraft's pitot tubes, which are key components used to measure airspeed. To avoid this, maintenance team has to constantly check for any insects or birds in different parts of the aircraft. Of all the parts of the plane, the maintenance of the engine is the most important and critical and costs around $25 million each. It needs regular engine runs. This helps in removing water or moisture from the engine, if any. But what about the countries where there is a humid climate and moisture in the air? So to prevent corrosion of the engine parts due to water, silica gel bags are kept in the engine to absorb moisture and to keep it safe from rusting. 5 of these are needed for each engine. Even though planes can withstand rain in the air, on the ground it is a different story. When there is heavy rain and a storm, there is a possibility that the airplanes drift from their original position due to water on ground and heavy wind, and hit the nearby planes, causing damage to several planes. To avoid this, airplanes are made heavier so that they don't get swept away. They are loaded with aircraft ballast weights. There are several calculations made as to where to put these additional weights so that the center of gravity of the aircraft is not messed up. The cabin humidity can rise to a certain level and can damage the seats. Silica gel bags are added inside the aircraft to protect the cabin. The seat inspection is a very time-consuming task. Every month the cabin is checked to make sure that the seats are good. For example, the recline leg rests, food rests, new tables, all are very important to make sure they work well. An aircraft of 30 seats might take 5 hours. The amount of time taken for the number of planes that are grounded now is unimaginable. To protect the cockpit from heating up, aluminum foil is applied on the outside of the copper windows because they bounce the light off to reflect the sunlight away from the aircraft. Although the maintenance is a difficult part, preparing the planes out of hibernation is a more difficult one. Removing all covers, doing the inspection, testing the engine, checking the cabins. It needs almost 3 weeks to get the grounded aeroplanes back to life. The maintenance engineers give their best to keep the aeroplanes safe and ready to soar when this break is over. With everyone eager to travel again in huge numbers after this pandemic, the aeroplane industry will hopefully see a sudden boom soon.